evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everything's well with you. We're back today with another video on Threadman Chazza. You've probably seen we've changed a few of the things around in terms of the logo and stuff like that. So we've had a few little changes. I hope you guys like that a lot. I hope you're all having a good day. Back today with another video with the Player in Focus series. We're going to analyze Fred today. But firstly, guys, just please, if you're joining the building, please do leave a like. Please get involved in the comments. Please subscribe if you're new as well. Get involved. As always, I will try and interact with all the comments as we always do. You know how this probably works by now. If you don't know how this works by now, we sort of go through different Manchester United players. We analyse their season, last season in particular, any other points from any other seasons that you think might be relevant, and then we dive into Ten Hag's system, where this player might fit in, where they might not fit in, and overall we make a judgment in the end. In the conclusion, we'll make a judgment. So please do get involved, guys. As always, I appreciate the support. A lot of good support on the channel, as always. And if you're watching this back after the live stream, I appreciate that as well. We've got a lot more content coming your way. We'll do more of these Player in Focus episodes. We'll get some guests, as I know I keep saying it, but we will. Just looking to grow the channel a little bit more, and then we'll start to get other people on the channel as well. But yes, guys, I really, really appreciate the support as always. So let's get started then with Fred. So obviously Fred, or Fredinho, the magic Brazilian. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not. It's probably the best way to describe Fred. I think a lot of people sort of rate Fred. Some people don't like him. Some people think he's okay. For me, I think he's got some ability, but again, does he show it often enough? Probably not. You know, I think he's a decent player, but probably more of a squad player. We'll see whether he can really develop into a real good first team player for us in the future. But yes, guys, we're going to analyse Fred today. As always, we're going to look through some stats and facts. We're going to look through some images on Twitter as well that I've got just to talk about Fred and analyse sort of where he might fit in under Ten Hag. So please, guys, do get involved. Please do get your comments in, get your thoughts in, as always. So let's get started then. I'll share my screen now, and we will get rolling with Fred. So let's just firstly have a little look into stats and facts for Fred. Let me just zoom in a little. Okay, so obviously last season, Fred actually improved his goal tally. So something that maybe we were a bit critical of with Fred. He doesn't score enough goals. You know, is he really a goal threat? Well, actually, yeah. Last season, Fred did actually get 4 goals and 4 assists in the league. So that's actually not too bad at all. You know, for a player who was playing mostly, obviously under Rangnick, he was playing a little bit more of an attacking role, given a bit more license to sort of move forward, to sort of move into the opposition's sort of move into the attacking third. But Fred, decent really, 4 goals, 4 assists last season. Obviously improved a lot under Rangnick. I think everybody would agree that Fred was probably the most improved player under Ralph Rangnick. You know, when you were a kid and used to get that, you know, when you used to play football, the most improved player trophy. I think we would have given that to Fred last season, to be totally honest. So, guys, get your comments in about Fred. What do you guys think about Fred? We're going to look at last season performance. We're going to look at where Fred might fit in under Erik ten Hag. GG, thanks a lot for coming along, mate. GG, as always, a very, very good supporter of the channel. Thanks a lot, mate. I appreciate it. I'll never rate Fred, GG says. Fair enough. Get your reasons in, GG. I want to know why you think that. But please, guys, get your comments in as always. Please leave a like as well when you're entering the building, and always please do subscribe if you are new. But Fred, last season, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all in terms of what he contributed in terms of goals and assists. Sort of goals and assists, 8 in all. Not too bad at all, really. So if we look at get it out of this. So let's have a look. Okay, so if we look at sort of the scouting report as such, so obviously Fred, as I said, decent in terms of his goals and assists last season. He contributed a bit more for us sort of going forward. You can see that here. I'm not too bothered about the goals and the assists, though. We're going to go on to more of the sort of passing. I think a midfielder needs to be able to mainly pass very accurately. I think that's the most important thing. You need to be able to pass the ball accurately. And if you see here, so we'll just look at some stats here on Fred. The stats are not great, and I say this every time on this channel. I'm not a stats person in isolation. I think you've got to use stats to back up the eye test, and these stats for me pretty much back up the eye test that Fred is not the best passer. He really isn't. And Gigi says, yeah, look, Gigi, I'll be honest with you. I agree with what you say there. He's terrible on the ball. I don't think he's good enough on the ball. I do think he has too many stray passes. I do think he's a bit clumsy on the ball. Loses too many duels. Yeah, he can be a bit weak in duels. I remember at home to Everton, I think it was, under Ollie, we drew 1-1. Everton's counter-attacking goal came. Fred got bullied off the ball. I think it was by Damari Gray, it might have been. He got bullied off the ball and then Everton went and scored. There were some other errors as well from other players, but that was a big part of it, really. And yeah, terrible at defending transitions. We're going to have a look at the defensive side in a minute. So we'll have a look into that more. But I don't disagree with anything you've said there, Gigi. I think that's fair, to be honest with you. But yeah, you can see here in the passing, he's just he's not really contributing anything particularly fantastic here. Longer passing, a little bit more accurate, but it's just sort of average, really. For a central midfield player, you'll see here to be in the 47th percentile for short passing is not very good. So these are passes completed between 5 and 15 yards. That's not good. 88%. That should be in the 90s. That should be in the 90s. If you're a central midfield player and you're only getting 88% of your short passes accurate, that's not good enough. That's not good enough at all. So I agree with Gigi with this comment. Terrible on the ball. Terrible. I don't use that word too much, but I just think he's quite average, really, on the ball. I just don't think he's, in terms of his passing, I don't think it's particularly fantastic. Anything else of note here in terms of the passing? There's nothing really interesting to have a look at there. Goal and shot creation. Yeah, goal creating actions actually quite high. I think one thing with Fred that we'll see in a moment is actually his. I don't think Fred is a bad dribbler. I don't think Fred is a bad dribbler at all. We'll see what the stats say in a moment, but I think Fred can carry the ball reasonably well when he feels like it. It feels like that's why I said it's like when you're at school and you got that most improved player award. That's what Fred would have got last season, really. But yeah, I think Fred sometimes shows us he's Brazilian and sometimes doesn't. I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. So goal creating actions, he actually creates some goals. So leading to a goal, passes, dribbles, drawing fouls. He can be quite quick with his feet at times, Fred, when he's dribbling. So he can draw a foul that creates a good free kick opportunity that creates a goal. He is clever in some instances, but I just don't think we see it often enough. That would be my comment. Gigi says he's not a bad dribbler, but he never carries the ball when there's so much space to charge into. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think, as I said, generally with Fred's dribbling, I think it's just inconsistent again. Like, he's not a consistently top dribbler. I think he can do it. We just don't see it often enough. So that's also a fair comment, Gigi. But please, guys, if you're watching right now, please do smash a like on the video. We're always aiming for 20, 25 likes if we can. As always, I try and produce the content for everyone. So please do get involved, guys, in the comments. Defensively, as we know, Fred's probably his best attribute is his tenacity in midfield. So you'll see here in the sort of higher percentiles, the 80s mostly on average, probably for tackles, dribblers contested. That Fred will engage. The issue is that Fred engages, for me, he doesn't know when to engage and when maybe not to engage. So he engages a lot of the time, but you'll see here, dribble pass. He gets dribble passed on average twice a game. That's very high. He's in the 7th percentile. He's in the bottom, sort of the bottom 7%. Really, that's quite poor. One thing you'll notice, guys who are watching right now, and one thing I certainly notice when Fred plays is he gets dribbled past way too easy. I think Gigi said before about his defending transitions. I don't think he's good enough in that metric. I just think he gets dribbled past way too easy, and sometimes he needs to maybe sit off and he engages too much and leaves us too open. So I think that is one of Fred's weaknesses, to be honest. So that's sort of the stats back up the eye test there. Pressures, very, very strong with pressures, as you'd expect. Blocks as well. Yeah, that's what we'd expect, really. Pressures and blocks. Fred is pretty good at that. Certainly sort of getting in players' faces, as you like. Gigi says the situations where you just need to hold up the player. Yeah, if you look at, you don't have to always make a tackle. You don't always have to engage. You just have to stand your ground sometimes. If you drop and if you stand your ground, maybe drop a couple of yards, you can allow other players to get back as well. Other players, allow them to get back into position and create, then sort of outnumber the attacking players. You've got more defensive players. If you engage, you're taking a risk. Yeah, that's what Ten Hag might want you to do in this system. But you need to do it in a together nature. You need to do it in a nature or in a way that you're all together. You're all pulling on the same string as such. You're all pulling in the same direction. But the thing is with Fred, I think Bruno did this a bit last season as well. They often go off almost like a headless chicken and try and press on their own. We saw that last season, and that's where you get the problems with your team shape. You get too many spaces in your structure, and the team can get through you. So I think you're right, Gigi. Sometimes, if you look at the way that Van Dijk plays, just jockeys. Van Dijk's so good, so good one-on-one defensively. He waits for that moment. He waits for support to come, and he can make his move. If you make your move too early before the support's there, that's a big risk. But if you wait for the support to come and then make your move, even if you don't win that duel, you've got players behind you then to support you. So I think you're right. I think he does need to just hold the player up, just take a few yards backward, sort of, and survey the situation a bit better. Battle Crichton, sup Charlie, sup mate, I hope you're doing well, mate. I hope everything's well with you. What do you think about Fred, mate? Please, guys, get in the comments. What do you think about Fred? I think Gigi's been spot on, really. I can't really disagree with anything that Gigi said so far. Anyone got any controversial opinions on Fred? Do you think he's world class? Anything like that? You think he's actually, the best Brazilian United have ever had? Let me know in the comments, guys. Any controversial opinions? Always interesting to know. Always interesting to know. Yeah, bit of banter, but yeah, pressures. This is where Fred's the best, really. Sort of his pressures, but these stats don't tell the whole story. I think, as Gigi said, sometimes he goes into that. He pressures somebody when he maybe shouldn't, and you can see their successful pressure. You can see their percentage of time the squad gained possession within 5 seconds of applying the pressure. You can see there that basically means when he presses, we don't really win possession back. So you can see there, is it really effective pressing, or is it just running around like a headless chicken, making it look like he's running all over the place? That is the problem, I think, and that is a good point that Gigi sort of backs up. I think that Gigi sort of backs up my point there. Battle of Krypton, we got a comment here. Fred is a Brazilian international starter for a reason. He offers a lot to the team in terms of breaking up play and legs. Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, I don't think Fred's an awful player. I just don't rate Fred that highly, personally. Yeah, I just don't really. But he is a Brazilian international. He will look better as well in a better system, in a more cohesive unit. That's the same with all of our players. Last season, I've said this many times, last season, the players looked worse than they actually were. Those players aren't that bad. If you were to slot one of those players in a better system, individually, they'll look better. So I think you are right about Krypton. The reason why he looks better for Brazil, he's got more, the players around him complement him more. He's got Fabinho next. He's got Fabinho in the midfield with him. He can then be that number 8 and sort of be higher up the pitch, be a more advanced midfield player. Because Fred, we all know, isn't really a deep line player. He's better away from our own goal and sort of in the middle third of the pitch. So I think that's a fair comment as well. As I said, I respect everyone's opinion here. I'm not gonna, as long as you're not gonna come up with anything offensive or anything too controversial, then I'm not gonna have a go at you. So how many apologies per games? Yeah, I think quite a lot of our players would be giving apologies from the wayward passes that they did last season. He's not world class, but a tier below for me. McTominay comparison should stop because McTom couldn't lace his boots. Yeah, I mean, I don't think McTominay and Fred, both of them are any good. But if I was to choose one player, I'd choose Fred ahead of McTominay. I don't by any good. I don't mean they're terrible. I just don't think they're fantastic players. I don't think they're incredible players. But I do agree in terms of I think Fred does offer more for the team than McTominay. I would agree with that. Thoughts on Seshko? I have to be honest, Red Dead United TV, I haven't watched him play yet, so I cannot make a comment. I'm not going to come on here and pretend I've watched him. I've seen the goal he scored tonight, very good goal. I've seen some of the, I did see a few highlights of him already tonight, and he has, it looks like he's played quite well, and he looks like a good talent, but I just haven't seen enough of him to really judge. Fred's stab passing goes unnoticed. Yeah, I think the issue with Fred is that he can do brilliant things, but just not consistently enough. And I think that's the same with a lot of our players, to be honest with you. Bat of Krypton, Danny Alves even came out and said, if you think Fred is the problem with the team, the club is really an issue. Yeah, you are right. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for me, we can talk about, did he get the players he wanted and all that? We're not quite sure about all that, but I think we neglected that midfield area. We had to have Fred and McTominay in that midfield in Ole's system, because our forward players, particularly Bruno and Rashford, were playing such high-risk passes. We were losing the ball so often, even in more deeper areas, as well as in the final third. We needed them players to cover the ground, to cover the ground and win the ball back for us. We needed players who could cover ground under Ole. That's why Fred and McTominay played. That's why Matic, Pogba, Van der Beek didn't really play as often together in midfield. So I think Fred has been not used properly in terms of as a number 8. I think that's why McTominay and Fred very often played as sort of this double pivot, that neither of them were really in a lot of games. They were often a partnership, quite a rigid partnership. We didn't really see sort of the fluidity that we're seeing now under Ten Hag, with Fred playing more deep and McTominay influencing the game higher up. They were more of a set double pivot, quite defensive. So yeah, I do agree. I don't think we've used Fred or McTominay, as a matter of fact, in their best position. Brazil have players that are press resistant and can take the burden off Fred. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think every player, you will do better with better players around you. And I think that is the issue at Man United at the moment. We've got a lot of players who probably just aren't fantastic players, but because they're playing next to somebody else who isn't that fantastic and doesn't complement them, it makes them look even worse, if that makes sense. So you've got like a lack of team balance, and I think we've had that many times. Yeah, Fred, again, Fred is one problem of many problems, some of the things that Fred can't do or does wrong, etc. Who's your current favourite United player? I'll probably say Jadon Sancho. I think you're repping him there, aren't you? With your picture as well, Red Dead United TV, so you probably like me. If you didn't like me before, you like me now. If you like me a bit now before, you like me even more now, probably. I do like Sancho. I like Martial as well in terms of his attributes, but Martial needs to improve his application, injury record, etc. But Sancho is probably my favourite player. I agree as well, Red Dead United TV. Dan James is a decent player. He didn't have the technical fundamentals to be a first-team player in a title-winning team, but under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he was useful. And the thing with Dan James is, I know we're digressing a bit. I'm going to go back onto Fred in a minute, but the thing with Dan James is he won't impact your team very negatively at all. Like, Dan James will always look to keep the ball more, retain the ball. He'll always track back and work hard for his fullback. So Dan James, I know he won't give you much output in terms of his attacking, in terms of goals and assists, but he won't harm the team shape much. He won't harm the team sort of cohesion. So Dan James was a good player, just a good sort of utility player. So I agree. Okay, then let's have a look then more about Fred. But good comments, guys. Please keep them coming. I like to talk about anything, particularly about Fred, our midfield. Talk about it as much as you want. Any other questions, I'll try and answer as well. Possession. Yeah, so you see here what I talked about earlier about the progressive carrying. I think Gigi made this point quite well. Fred can dribble. So if you looked at these stats, you got like successful dribbles very low, carrying distance low, progressive carries low, carries into the final third. They look so low, but like as I said before, I'm not just a stats person, so we have to say Fred can dribble. Sometimes he dribbles really well, but he doesn't dribble the distance. Like for example, if you look at a player like De Jong, Gravenberch, Kovacic at Chelsea, these players can carry the ball so many yards between, like from the defensive even to the attacking third, even to the box sometimes. These players can take sort of Pogba as well, even De Bruyne. These players can carry the ball so well, and it's so important. It's so important to have an asset like that in your team to try and break opposition lines, sort of in that way. Fred can't offer you that, but Fred can be quite intricate in the final third sometimes with his dribbling, with his little touches. I remember for Ronaldo's goal against Tottenham, that really good long range goal. That was when Fred did a little flick to Ronaldo. He can do these little tricks and he can do little dribbles, but he just cannot give you that distance where he goes through the defensive middle to attacking third. That's the issue with Fred, I think. So I don't think these stats tell the full story in terms of dribbling. I think he can do a little bit of it, but I just don't think he can carry the ball really, really well through the sort of into the final third. De Jong seems like Fred was doing. Yes, I think De Jong will go into the Fred role. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Yes, it should be Gigi. I agree. James Garner, I agree. Red Dead United TV. For me, Garner needs another loan, and that's what I personally think. James is a squad player, 5th choice rotation between either flanks. I'd rather him instead of Elanga. Yeah, I agree. I think James and Elanga, they have some similarities in terms of what they offer and what they don't. But we made profit on him. That's the thing about Krypton. That's the thing about if you sign players, and some people don't like signing cheaper players. I'm not bothered how much a player costs, as long as the manager wants them, as long as they're going to fit in the system, as long as it's not just Ed Woodward as such in the past making the signings. I'm happy with any type of signing as long as they fit. And the thing with Dan James is if you do go for that sort of cheaper option, try and develop a player, and it doesn't work, you have got the resale value. If you go for players like the Sanchez, Cavani, Ronaldo type players, you haven't got the resale value. So that is the thing under Ten Hag. You're sort of a less risky asset, isn't it, to buy, because you're signing a younger player who can develop, and if it doesn't work out, so be it. And we actually made profit. That's one of the first times we made profit on a player in the last few years. I can't think of many other players. Yeah, Red Dead United TV. I agree, mate. I think it looked a bit awkward, really, didn't it, earlier? It was just a bit weird, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Brandon Williams should leave, so I don't think he'll be here too much longer. Hopefully, he'll go to Brighton. Yeah, I agree there. Do you think Dumfries can be a car? I don't think Dumfries is as good defensively. I don't think he's got as much of a knack defensively. I think Kyle Walker defends his back post very well. One-on-one, very good. Obviously, very fast. And I just think he's intelligent defensively. Dumfries, I think Dumfries is more of a wing back. He's played more of as a wing back, really. So I don't think Dumfries is as good defensively, but he is certainly a threat going forward. But look, I think we should be looking into right backs for sure, but we'll do that on another show. Kante, yes, I agree. I think there are some similarities with Kante, but I think Kante has his game has degraded a little bit in recent years. I don't think Kante is the same player as he used to be. I don't rate Dumfries at all. I'm Dutch, and I'm telling you, he doesn't have the work rate, and so on. Well, fair enough. I've watched Dumfries quite a few times, and I don't think he hasn't really blown me away, but I can see that he could offer something. But I've not really been convinced overall by his game. But that's interesting. Thank you for that, Gigi. As always, good knowledge. Anything else with Fred? A penalty kicks one. That might just be, that's probably one penalty across the whole season, or possibly even two, but he won one penalty probably, which was useful. Ball recoveries, fair enough. Obviously, he doesn't win many aerials because of his height, etc. So that's Fred in terms of his stats. So that's all fair enough with Fred. So yeah, we've looked into Fred's stats. I think the main things to take away: On the ball, his passing isn't great. On the ball, he doesn't carry the ball particularly far. He's improved his output this season. He's scored more goals. He's got more assists. He's a good tackler. He's tenacious. He pressures a lot, but is it effective pressing? Not all of the time. I think that's what I'd sort of sum up with Fred. But he hasn't played. He hasn't played in his. He hasn't played in his best position for a long time. He did under Ranić. That's why he improved. But under Ollie, I don't think he played in his best role really. Right, guys, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to get something else up here. I really like all the interaction, guys. I like the interaction in the comments. Please keep it up. Really, really good as always. So this is a tweet that I put out. Okay, this is a tweet I put out during the game against... I'm not sure. It might have been the Melbourne game. I think this might be the Melbourne game. So you see here, if you look at our team shape, we've actually got we've got a front five. We've sort of got a 3-5-2 going. So Fred is sort of the left in the back three here. So you see Fred is sort of closest to us on the left-hand side, sort of in the back three. So this is the position I think that Frenkie de Jong will take up. So when we're building up, Fred has actually been playing the deeper role in pre-season, and McTominay has been playing the more advanced 8 role. I don't think Fred or McTominay are very good in the deeper role at all. I think Fred struggles with his back to goal. He struggles under pressure when he receives a pass. And if you're playing in that 6 role in the Ten Hag, you need to be comfortable. This is a bit of a different scenario because our sort of build-up is starting. We're starting a new attack again in their half, more or less. If you're starting build-up from your own half, you need a player who's comfortable in your own half, in your own box, who can receive the ball comfortably under pressure, press resistant, can turn, can comfortably play a pass around the corner, or you look for a progressive pass straight into another midfield player, or switch the play. Fred hasn't got that. So that's why I think Fred struggles in the 6. He's not really press resistant. I think he does struggle. But I think this is the role if de Jong comes. I think de Jong will take up this role on the left-hand side during build-up. I think de Jong will play slightly deeper. And I think whether Fred goes into the McTominay role or whether McTominay stays or whether Eriksen goes there, we'll see. But I do think if de Jong comes, he will play this deeper role. You've seen de Jong play at centre-back for Barcelona. They're taking the mickey, really. But de Jong can sort of, because de Jong's so comfortable in his own defensive half, sort of defensive third, really, he can play. Sort of, he's used to playing as a centre-back. So I don't think de Jong will look at a place on the ball as a centre-back. Sort of, obviously off the ball he will struggle, but under Ten Hag, if you're that 6, you need to be comfortable in an area where a centre back would originally operate, if that makes sense. I don't think Fred is. I think Fred's done okay. Don't get me wrong. I think Fred's done okay in pre-season, but I don't think Fred's been excellent. I think he's given the ball away. I think he's a bit clumsy. I think he's done okay, but I don't think he's been excellent. I think de Jong would go into this sort of deeper position during build-up. So that's just a point I wanted to make. On Fred, you'll see a tweet I put out here. Fred scored a chip, and now he thinks he's a world-class striker taking these shots. Did make me laugh a bit. It did annoy me a bit as well when Fred's all of a sudden started to take these long shots on. I'm just going to see if I've got anything else on team shape here, because I can't quite remember whether I did. But yeah, here's another thing on Zidane Iqbal. So you see there, if you're a pivot player under Ten Hag, and if you're sort of acting as that deeper player, you need to be comfortable in dropping into these deeper areas. I don't think Fred's that effective in those areas, to be totally honest with you. But that's just my thoughts. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, you'll see here the compact press. I put this tweet out a few times before. You see here, I think Fred can be more effective when he's not, as Gigi said, sometimes he's running around like a headless chicken. If Fred's in a more responsible, cohesive, controlled, compact press, Fred can be more useful because he can save his energy. If you've got a compact press like this, the spaces between players are smaller. Players have not got to cover as much distance. Therefore, you can work more as a team. You haven't got to do as much individual running because you've got everyone's working as a unit, everyone's working together. You do all the running for each other. You haven't got to cover as much distance on your own. So I think Fred could actually save some of his energy and be more sort of productive, sort of pressing in these shorter moments. You know, as soon as you lose the ball back, where's the counter press? Let's try and counter on the opposition. Let's try and win the ball back, and we go again. And I think Fred could be quite useful at that, and he can probably save some of the energy you waste pressing, not as a lone player, but pressing sort of as a headless chicken at times. He can do those presses. The distance between him and the player that he wants to press is going to be smaller, if that makes sense, because everyone's going to be working together. You can see here it's a very compact press. So I think Fred can be used well under Erik ten Hag. I think if De Jong comes in for Fred's role, maybe Fred goes into the McTominay role, but I do think McTominay could be useful in terms of he's a taller player, more physical, stronger. I think Fred, Eriksen, and Bruno are a midfield. Like De Jong, Fred, and Bruno, that might lack a little bit of steel. So he may look to sort of prefer McTominay there. But I don't rate particularly either of them. If I was to choose one, I would choose Fred in terms of his overall game, but I don't rate either of them that highly. Yep, Dumfries is a right wing back for sure. Yeah, Martinez, I like Martinez a lot for sure. I think Martinez is not just his ability, but also his mentality. Yes, you're right. Thank you for that, Bat of Krypton. You're right. Yeah, certainly. I think we're all excited for that. Interesting. I haven't seen that. That's something I've been thinking about the last few days. What do you do with the two games? Obviously, you can't play. You don't want any players in the first game playing in the second game, do you? Because obviously they're going to have to travel. They're not going to make it for that game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I do like the idea of that, the Red Dead United TV, because you want to see what your strongest team can do against Atletico, particularly because Atletico, obviously, it's not a professional, it's not a sort of a competitive game, but Atletico are very tough to break down. They will probably not be as tough, and you know what they're like, Atletico, in competitive Champions League games. We found that out in the Champions League. That was sort of the end of our season, wasn't it, when we lost to Atletico? Very, very, very depressing day, that game when we lost, but they were pulling all the tricks out of the hat, weren't they? You know, diving around, etc. They probably won't do as much of that against us in the friendly, but they will still use their antics, and they probably will still play quite a low block and look to frustrate us. So I think that would be a good idea to play our strongest team, see how we can get on. Yeah, that's the issue, Gigi. Fred, although we've seen in the stats, Fred, I think his longer passing is better compared to his shorter and medium passing, which is a bit odd. But I think Fred, I think that passing range isn't particularly fantastic, and that's where De Jong can obviously help us out. Yeah, exactly. I think the issue with sort of discussing the sixth role in the Ten Hag, under Ten Hag, you look at who he's used in the past. He's obviously used Edson Alvarez this season. He used Martinez, I think it was in the 1920 season, as a six. And he's obviously used Schürrle and De Jong as well in the 18-19 season. So he's used a variety of players. And I think there's a quote from Ten Hag saying the players determine the system doesn't determine the players. And I think that the players, what players you have decide what system you use rather than the other way around. And I think that makes sense. Like, for example, if you're a team like Burnley, you can't go and play a high press, gegenpress style, or you can't play a control possession style, really. You know, if you're Manchester City, you're not going to play a counter-attacking style. You can have that as a trait in your game, but with the players at your disposal, they're going to determine that you play a control possession tiki-taka style. So I think you are right. We've got to be careful when we look at what sort of Ten Hag's used in the past. It's mainly not been a destroyer, but he has used Alvarez, who is more of that ilk. But I think De Jong will play as sort of the deep line playmaker. I think that's where De Jong sort of can thrive. But I think he needs a player next to him who has some more defensive steel and discipline. there's a misconception of what type of six Ten Hag wants. Ten Hag wants the whole team to press and win the work together. Exactly. This is what I said, Gigi. Under Ollie, like, I never rated Ollie particularly that highly, but people who rated Ollie thought that you're going to buy a six and all of a sudden Ollie needs a number six to challenge for the title. I think even if we would have signed a destroyer under Ollie, we wouldn't have improved that much. I said to people, it's not going to drastically improve. The reason being is that you cannot just put a player into a team and expect just that individual player's quality to change the team. You've also got to change the way you play with the system. You've got to change the discipline of the players. I thought under Ollie we didn't have enough discipline. I thought we were almost too sort of expansive with Rashford and Bruno. I think we needed a little bit more sort of rigidity at times. I just thought we gave the ball away too much, and then we had to deal with transitions too much. And I think you are right. I think just putting a destroyer in there isn't going to fix everything. You need a cohesive unit altogether. Red Dead United TV. I think everyone has the first lockdown. The way I dealt with it is just kept busy with working, exercising, cooking, watching football. That's where I sort of came onto Twitter as well. Surround yourself with friends, make friends online as well. That's how I sort of dealt with it. Yeah, exactly, Bat of Krypton. You're right. Exactly. And like Rodri goes under the radar as well. People look at Rodri and think, oh, he's a big, tall player. He's a destroyer. Not really. You know, Rodri is actually he's actually a quality player on the ball as well. So I think you can have sort of a hybrid. I think Rodri is that sort of hybrid. I think Fabinho is more of that destroyer type. I think Rodri is more of a hybrid. Yeah. That's going to be good to see. I think a lot of people are actually looking forward to watching football again under Ten Hag. Okay, guys, I'm going to come to the other comments in a moment. I just want to touch on Fred a little bit more. I want to touch on this topic a little bit more. So anything else on Fred? This is interesting, actually. This is something that Ten Hag said in training. I tweeted this out. So bring an extra player in the middle. I need two in the middle. Okay, make triangles. That's football. Always the same principles. Like, I think in terms of our midfield area, I do think that if you look at the way we've played in recent years with Fred and McTominay and then Bruno, the space between Fred and McTominay as a 2 and then Bruno as a 10, I think that's often been too big. Like, I think at times Bruno has gone too far into the attacking area. Like, I think Bruno as almost plays as a number 9, almost plays as a 9 under Ollie. Some of his positions he was taking up, and that was then isolating Fred and McTominay, who aren't brilliant anyway on the ball and in terms of their decision making. That's not fantastic. Like, when we say a 4-2-3-1, you still are playing as you still need to make sure you play as a 3. You've still got to be in. Sort of, you've got to make sure you have those partnerships. And I think this is something under Ten Hag, as I said before, when the spaces are more condensed, it's easier for players on the ball and off the ball. On the ball, you'll have more passing options, shorter, easier passing options. And off the ball, you'll be able to press more compact as a team. You won't have to run as much sort of on your own because you're all doing it together. So I think this is a good thing on Fred as well for a player that might struggle a little bit in terms of his passing. If you've got more passing options available to you, I think he could help him out as well. Any other comments then? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go through the rest of the comments. Where were we? We're here. We need Anthony. Go for Anthony if Ten Hag wants him. We need a striker if Ronaldo goes. We need Frankie de Jong. We need a right back as well, I think. Alien Tenno, I hope you're well, mate. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing well. Fred is kind of a nowhere man in this system. I mean, fair enough if you think that. I do think de Jong will take the role up that Fred's doing at the moment, to be honest with you. But thanks a lot, Alien Tenno, for coming along, as always. Guys, please do smash a like on the video right now if you are watching. As I said, we're always trying to get to 20, 25 likes. Please do leave a like if you're enjoying. I'm really enjoying the conversation. Better Krypton. Alvarez, you're right, was a more of a destroyer type. Other teams have had a 6, but DLP style, yes, exactly. Schürrle was not sort of shown. I think, yeah, you are right. He sort of developed throughout his career. Certainly are rare profiles. Rodri, yes. Party is not a 6. He's an 8 in the Brazilian model player. And Kessie, yeah. To be honest with you, I think Party could play either. Like I think Party could play. I think Party could play as a lone 6 and in a pivot as more of an advanced 8. Like I think Party's a really, really good player. So yeah, I think he could actually do either personally. So I want to touch now on Fred. I want you guys to let me know in terms of Fred's future. Like for me, I look at Fred, right? I see a player that's got some good attributes. To be honest, I say this about a lot of our players. He's got some good attributes. He's got a few weaknesses as well. I think Fred under Ten Hag, I think he'll be because of the World Cup, because we probably won't sign De Jong. We signed Eriksen. We might sign De Jong, but we probably won't sign De Jong, Eriksen, and another midfield player. So I think Fred will be involved quite a lot this season because of that fact. But I think Fred within the next sort of 2 to 3 years, I think we might see Fred maybe even leave the club. Yeah, GG's reading my mind. Squad player for the next 2 years then, so I sort of agree. I'm not sure about Fred for the future. I'd love Fred to sort of magically become really, really accurate with his passing and a great progressive player, but I just don't think he is that. Like I think Fred will probably be mostly sort of more of a squad player, but he will be involved quite a lot in the next year or so. I think just because of the World Cup, just because we're going to have so many games, he's going to have to play. And I think that the thing with Fred is he's very rarely injured as well. Like I think Fred, he's quite reliable for you. He's going to try hard. With Fred, this is actually an interesting point. Last season, Fred is not one of the players you could look at and you could say that player stopped trying. You can't say that about Fred. And I know should be the minimum of any footballer at any level, sort of work ethic. But you can't say that Fred was one of those players that down tools, because he wasn't. Fred was always a player that you can rely on to do a job. I just don't think his technicals, I think, are just not quite good enough. Battle of Crichton says Fred stays under Erik ten Hag. I reckon under Erik ten Hag he will do well. He was our best midfielder last year and he started Casemiro for Brazil. I think Fred could be okay. I hope he can improve more, but I agree with this comment as well. There's so much you can improve. I think GG means, I don't know whether GG means there's not that much. I imagine that's what GG means. There's only so much you can improve at that age. I just don't think Fred is good enough on the ball in this system. And I think off the ball, GG said earlier as well, defensive transitions, I think he gets caught out too much. I just think he gets dribbled past too much. But as I said, Ten Hag can use a system to mask players' weaknesses. That's what the best managers do. When you become a manager, your best, obviously your idea is to win trophies, etc. But your main job, how can you get the best out of the players that are at your disposal? And a lot of managers, you see them make tactical tweaks. They play, so make centre-back partnerships, make midfield partnerships, play wide players, play fullbacks, play strikers, whoever they want to choose out of their squad, they will pick those players and they will pick the system that best fits. That you can't mask, you can't remove players' weaknesses, but you can mask weaknesses. You can not make the weaknesses look as bad if you're in a cohesive unit. It's just that unit can only do so much, if that makes sense. So, for example, Alien Tenno, I hope you're doing well, mate, as always. I think you are right. I just don't think Fred fully fits the profile that Ten Hag wants. But I think Fred could do okay. But as I said, I don't think he'll ever sort of fully hit that ceiling, sort of fully hit that profile. Battle Crichton says most of the things you guys have with him are system fixes. I just think you can only do that so much. Only De Gea, Lindelof, Ronaldo, and Fred are the only ones from credit. Yeah, I wouldn't even say Lindelof. To be honest with you, I wouldn't even say any players deserve credit last season. I don't think many. I don't even know if you can say any players really deserve credit. It's just some players were not as bad as others. And De Gea, De Gea, I don't think he should be our number one in years to come. But I think De Gea did make some very good saves at times, but the stats don't lie with De Gea. Ronaldo got us goals, but his overall game, I don't think it's sustainable. Lindelof, I just don't think he's that good personally, and same with Fred. I just don't think they fit the profile that much, to be honest. Spot on, GG. I agree. You're both right. You're both right. But the thing is, as I said, you can't eradicate weaknesses. You can only mask the weaknesses and cover the faults. Like, you can only do that so much. Like, Harry Maguire is always not going to have not much recovery pace. Fred is always going to have problems on the ball. Rashford is not very often going to score headed goals. You just cannot really improve these things. You just can try and get players in situations where you can sort of not see those things as often, hopefully. Yeah, there you go. Good example. I think Delph was a very reliable player. I think Fred is okay, but I think Pep did want Fred. Pep Guardiola did want Fred, and I think you would have seen a different player. But again, I don't think Fred would have ever been a starter for City with the players they've got at the moment. He probably just would have been a squad player. Great point, Ellie and Tenno. That's what I agree with totally. You cannot make a player intelligent. You can give them guidance, you can give them instructions, but you cannot change here from what you're born with or what you work with when you're a child, when you start playing football, when you move through the academy. That's when you have to develop. If you get to the age of 24, 25, 26, if you haven't got that sort of intelligence in there, your knack of where to be on the pitch, it's very hard to work with a player. Lindelof, it's a tough one with Lindelof. On the ball, I think Lindelof's okay. His long progressive passing is good. Off the ball, I just don't think he's proactive and aggressive enough. But I think he can fit the mould. I think he can fit the mould in some way, shape, and form. But I just don't think where Lindelof is going to get in the team. Like, Martinez is going to play, I think, at left centre back. Maguire's the captain, so he'll play. I think Varane will play ahead of Lindelof when he's fit. So I just don't know whether Lindelof's going to get many minutes in sort of the league. So I agree with Gigi here about the ability on the ball. He's got some ability, but again, the ability isn't amazing with Lindelof. I think it's decent, the long progressive passes, but the physicality, the passive defending, I just don't think. I agree there. I just don't think it's brilliant. I just don't think it's brilliant. Yeah, that's why I say I think Maguire will play ahead of Varane, just because Varane's not reliable. So, any other thoughts on Fred, guys? Any other thoughts for me? I think he needs to play in an eight position if we're going to see the best of him. But for me, I agree with what a lot of people have said. I think he probably will improve a bit, but I think you can only improve so much when you've got sort of technical issues, if you like, with Fred. I think you can only improve so much, to be honest with you. I think there's only so much you can do. That's just my personal opinion. Martinez, Malacia left-footed. That leaves Maguire, Varane, Lindelof, Dalot, and Wan-Bissaka right-footed in defence. Yeah, I agree. That's why I think we need another right-back, Alien Tono. I really don't rate Wan-Bissaka. I don't rate Dalot incredibly highly. I think Dalot is better than Wan-Bissaka. I think he's done well in pre-season. The inverted role, he's really progressive. But I just don't think Wan-Bissaka is going to be playing, to be honest with you, too much. So yeah. I just don't think Wan-Bissaka is ever going to be good enough. Lindelof and Maguire, I'm not a great fan of either of them. I just think Maguire will play because he's captain. Dalot, I think he's decent. I think Lindelof's okay. Maguire's okay. Varane just isn't fit enough. This is just analysing the squad now, completely tearing it apart. Malacia and Martinez are new signings, so I'm not going to comment on them too much. Yes. No, I'm not. I don't know if that's addressed to me, but I'm not happy with mediocrity. I was happy for any of these players to be sold, other than maybe Sancho at the end of the season. I just don't think. I just don't think many of these players are fantastic. I just think we have to keep a lot of these players at the moment because we cannot sell everybody. But please do, guys, please smash a like, guys. I think we're only on 6 likes, guys. Come on, guys, please smash a like button. We were doing really, really well with the likes the last few shows, 20 odd likes. Please do smash a like, guys, right now if you're watching. You know, I really want you guys to please support the channel as much as you can. Okay, fair enough. Donny isn't an 8, though, in my opinion. I think we saw in the game against Villa, Donny vacates the midfield too often for me to play as an 8. I think Donny is best as a 10 when he can run in behind, when he can make the third man run beyond the number 9. Just want to say, though, guys, I really appreciate everyone watching right now. A lot of people here have been here for most of the show. Please, guys, please smash a like. Please do subscribe if you're new as well. I really appreciate the support. Swap my Tom for Fred and De Jong for Fred. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Eriksen might play in a deeper role against the against teams that play a lower block. I do agree. Yes, it will be tough. Yes, you are right there as well, GG. Yes, he can, but he can. Yes, he can. That's fair. He can. But again, you're not getting the best out of Donny there. Like, people will still be on Donny's case and say he's not good enough. You know what I mean? So this is where you've got to get the balance. Like, Donny for me is a number 10. If you play Donny in the 10 and we don't see Donny improve, or don't see Donny play well, fair enough. We can say, you know, Donny's played in his best position with the best players for a few games. He hasn't played very well. Fair enough. But you cannot judge Donny for me in the 8 as you cannot judge him properly there, because I just don't think he is an 8. But he can play. As I said, Donny can play in the 8, but I just don't think that's where he's best. I just don't think that's where he's best for himself and for the team. If you vacate that midfield play, if you sort of vacate that midfield area and leave Fred or McTominay on their own, you're in trouble. You know, if it was a player like a Rodri or Fabinho, I'm a bit more confident. But if you're leaving a player like McTominay or Fred there, you're in a bit of trouble, to be honest with you. So yeah, Fred. This is the 4th episode of Player in Focus. Remember, in a minute, I'm going to get you guys to vote for the next player we're going to cover. We've covered David De Gea, we've covered Dalot, we've covered Shaw, and now we've covered Fred. Who should we cover next, guys? Please let's start to get your comments in now. Who should we cover next? It needs to be a midfield player. You've got McTominay, you've got Donny, you've got Bruno, Eriksen. I'm not going to cover because he's a new player. So you've got McTominay, you've got Donny, you've got Bruno. Probably those 3 players. So who do you guys want to see me cover next in the Player in Focus? Well, obviously, as always, we'll have a good interactive discussion on it. The general consensus for me with Fred is, to be honest with you, Fred, I think he'll be involved quite a lot this season because of the congestion. But I think I've got big doubts whether he can ever sort of adapt fully to the profile that Ten Hag wants. That's my personal opinion, to be honest with you. Yeah, sorry, Bato. Yeah, Bat of Krypton. I did say with Eriksen. I just think I want to cover players that played last season for us. 2 votes for Bruno. That looks quite convincing. Any other votes, guys? Please get them in. Bruno, McTominay, or Donny. Really, we're looking at those 3 players, to be totally honest with you. Interesting comment here. I think Bruno is overrated and hinders the team. I said, I think it might have been, I don't know when it was, more than a year ago. I had a debate with people about Bruno, and they said Bruno is world class. And I said this, even when he was scoring 20 goals, Bruno is not world class at all. And I still hold that opinion. Bruno isn't world class for me. I think Bruno's a decent player, but I don't rate him particularly that highly. I think he needs more discipline. I think off the ball, I think we've seen under Ten Hag, actually, he's improved slightly on his discipline, and off the ball, he's not being as much of a headless chicken like Fred does as well, pressing on his own. I think he's had a bit more direction, a bit more instruction, and we're doing it more as a team. But I do think that Bruno is not world class at all. So I actually agree. I don't rate Bruno. Yeah, I don't rate Bruno particularly high. I don't think he's terrible, but I just don't think he is as good as some people make out. Likeable guy. Yeah, And that's the issue, I think, Alien Tenno, with where we've got at Man United. We make a thing of it, saying he's a likable guy, he's a likable player. I said earlier, Fred doesn't let you down, he works hard, etc. At the end of the day, we shouldn't be talking about this at Man United. It shouldn't matter whether you're a likable guy. You should, it just shouldn't matter. You just want a team that wins, don't you? That's what I want anyway. I couldn't care whether players are likable. Roy Keane wasn't likable for many people. Lots of people didn't like Roy Keane, even from our own fan base. A lot of people, maybe wasn't a player to sort of look up to. He was just a warrior, really. You couldn't look at Roy Keane and say, I really like the way Roy Keane plays. You might like his attitude and his mentality, but in terms of the way he plays, not many people would have said, oh, I want to be like Roy Keane. Not many people probably thought that, but Roy Keane was vital for us, in terms of his mentality, the attitude, and a winner. That's what we need. So I think you are right, Ellie and Tenno, but I don't think we should really focus on these. We shouldn't have to think of these things at Manchester United. We should be focused on winning. And I just want players in my team who can win. Yes, I think that's one of his weaknesses. Against, I think, sort of in tighter spaces. I do agree with that. That was something I did put forward about of Krypton, actually, about Bruno in a wider position. I think he could play, De Bruyne for City in that right half space. I think in that sort of role, I think Bruno could be half useful. But the issue you've then got, obviously, is the transition, lack of support for the fullback. It gets a bit messy then. Yes, I like Fabian Ruiz. I like Fabian Ruiz a lot. I think he's a number 8, though. Again, I don't think he's a deep line player. I think he's more of a number 8. But yeah, good point, Antonio. I agree, mate. That's fair enough. That's why I said it could get a bit messy, particularly off the ball. Yes, I agree. Yes, exactly. And I think Eriksen can also play in a wider role. When you're in a 4-2-3-1 in particular, I think you can have one of those wider players, so-called wider players, playing a slightly more inverted half-space role. I think we saw under Pochettino at Tottenham, Eriksen played sort of a more wider role. As long as you've got to have a sort of complement your other players. So as long as your other wide player is more of a direct player, maybe more of a touchline wide player, a more direct player, in behind, more sort of expansive player, you can have that more sort of restricted wide player who isn't going to take players on, who plays a little bit more centrally. So I think you are right there. I think you can play a more inverted role, sort of have a winger in more of an inverted half space role, but then obviously you need the support from the fullback. So I think that is important. If you were to play an Eriksen or Bruno in more half space role, you'd have to have Dalot in a wider role rather than an inverted role as well. As obviously you've just got too much inversion, and you just can't make it work. Yes, yes. Yeah, Hakimi would be a very good signing, but it's not realistic, is it really? Let's be honest. I mean, Hakimi's a top player, but it's just not going to happen this summer. I think we're going to go for a slightly sort of less well-known, less popular profile if we do sign a right back. But yeah, please, guys, as always, get any final thoughts in on Fred. For me, let me know, guys, what do you think in terms of Fred? Do you think a starter under Ten Hag in the future? Do you think squad player, or do you think he'll be sold? So we did the same with Luke Shaw. Most people said squad player, but what do you guys think with Fred? Do you think a starter? Do you think a squad player? Or do you think Fred will end up being sold? What do you guys think? We'll score a lot more goals. So I think we will. Maguire, yeah. I think with Maguire, it's not just his lack of pace. I think it's also at times his intelligence. I don't think a high line is always all about pace. It's about intelligence. It's about your positioning. It's about the other players defending well as well. That's how you play as a team. You don't just defend with 2 centre halves, 2 fullbacks, etc. The defensive midfield player. You have to defend from the front, defend as a team. I think Maguire does have weaknesses. I do think he is weak with his recovery pace, But I do think Maguire also has on-the-ball attributes to improve as well. I think he's too slow on the turn. I think he releases the ball too slowly, etc. So I don't think it's all about pace. I think with Maguire, he's got other aspects of his game as well to improve. You see Mukiele, yeah, good solid signing. Good solid signing for that price. Good solid signing. Yeah, that's actually that's actually true. That's actually true. Maguire, particularly in the Leicester game away, struggled a lot. Maguire plays against us, yeah. Yeah, Maguire, you're saying I don't rate Maguire. I don't rate Maguire particularly highly either. I do think Better Krypton was right. I think a lot of players were playing against us last season, though. To be honest with you, mate, I think it was pretty bad for a lot of players. For United as a whole, I think a lot of players did. I would not sort of rule that out at all. I wouldn't rule that out in terms of Fred. I just don't see him fitting the first team player mold under Ten Hag. But what do we know? Let's hope that Fred can improve, etc. But I just don't know whether he will ever really fit the mold. I don't think he fits the profile for Ten Hag. Right, guys. Any final thoughts? Get them in, but we're going to end up the show soon. As always, thanks a lot to everyone for watching. Any other thoughts, guys, by the way, on the next series? So the next episode of this series, we've got 2 votes for Bruno. Do you want me to cover McTominay? Do you want me to cover Bruno or Donny? Any other votes for the next episode? Please get them in the comments right now. Quickly get them in because I'm going to end the show soon. So McTominay, Bruno or Donny for the next show. We've got 2 votes for Bruno. Gigi and another person as well, I think, voted for Bruno. I think it might have been Bat of Krypton as well. Yeah, so you guys voted for Bruno. So any other votes for McTominay, Bruno or Donny, please, guys, do let me know. 2-1, I think it'll be a tough game. Brighton are a good side. They'll restrict us, probably. They'll restrict us in terms of how much we want to keep the ball. Under Ten Hag, we'll want to dominate teams for possession, but Brighton restrict you doing that a lot of the time. I think Brighton are a good side. I don't think they could see many goals. They're very structured. I do like Brighton a lot. So I'll go. I think we'll win 2-1, but I think it'll be tough. Any other votes, guys? Please get them in within the next minute or so. McTominay, Bruno or Donny? Who do you want me to cover it in the next episode? We've got 2 votes for Bruno so far. So that's who I'm going to cover at the moment. But if there's if anyone votes, if there's 3 votes for McTominay or Donny, then I'll obviously bring that in. I'll have to consider that and then obviously cover one of those players. But it looks like it's going to be Bruno for the next episode of the Player in Focus series. So yeah, as always, guys. Community Shield. I think it's this weekend. Yes, you've also got the Championship starting up as well, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. If you guys do follow the Championship, that's going to be interesting. Certainly to see who comes up again. It's probably going to be Watford and Norwich again, isn't it? Same team seem to the yo-yo clubs, as we call them. Yeah, I think Brighton will be a good game. I think it will be a good game. I can't see Williams going. I can't see him I can't see that deal happening very, very, very soon. Like, I think we're going very, very slow with the outgoings, but I just hope that he does eventually go. Look, if he gets there, fantastic. Get some money in for him, but I don't know whether that's going to happen before the game next weekend. Especially the way how slow we're doing business. I don't know whether that's going to happen. I haven't looked into the fixtures actually, Gigi. So I don't know who those teams are. Those teams is that the opening day? Is it that game? I haven't actually looked into the other games yet. Yeah, it is at Leicester's ground. Yeah, you are right. That Alien Tennis. So we're going to cover Bruno then in the next episode. 2 votes for Bruno. So we're going to cover Bruno in the next episode. As always, thanks a lot, everybody, for coming along. Please, guys, if you haven't yet liked the video, we haven't got many likes, so please do smash the like button, guys. I think this has been a good show. I think we've had a lot of interaction from comments. Please, guys, come along again next time. I really appreciate the support. I like it when you guys have debates in the chat as well. It's really, really good stuff. I do like the breadth of opinions as well. We've got a variety of opinions, different thoughts on Fred. I do like that. But as always, guys, thanks a lot for the support. Please smash a like on the video if you haven't already. If you're new, please do subscribe. I do try and upload quite often. I will not forget. Let me just say this: I'm looking to grow the channel. Right? I'm looking to grow the channel as much as I can. Right? But if this channel ever gets much bigger, which of course I hope it does, I will never forget these people who have supported me from the early days. So don't worry, you guys. I will not forget you. I will never forget you. I will never forget you. If I ever do become big on YouTube, which I suppose it's quite unlikely, but I'm hoping to grow the channel as much as I can. The target is to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the summer. So sort of by the end of August. It's going to be tough. We're going to try and do it. We're going to try and get to 1,000 by the end of Christmas, hopefully, if we can. But I think some people, when they're in the content creation field, when they get to a lot of followers, subscribers, etc., they treat their followers as just sort of, oh, they're all the same. It's just, you can't really interact and be personal with your followers. I don't really want it to be like that. I want to be, having conversations with you guys, trying to interact with you as much as possible. So I will, hopefully we'll grow as much as we can. But I will never forget all the great support you guys give me. So I'm always very thankful for that. So thanks a lot. Good night, GG, mate. Thanks a lot for coming along. Cheers, Charlie Savage. Cheers, Alien Terror, mates. Big up, Chaz. Big up, Better Krypton. Dipesh Patel, great analysis. Thanks a lot, mate. Thanks for coming along. You never know what can happen, Alien Tenor. I only joined Twitter it was April 2021, I think it was, when I fully joined Twitter. So there you go. Look, I started Twitter in April 2021. We're here in July 2022, and I've got over 5,000 followers. That's crazy. I never thought I'd ever have that. And again, YouTube, we've only started really being regular with that, and we're doing well. So I wouldn't be able to do it with you guys, though, so I appreciate that a lot. I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. Thanks a lot for coming along to Sayu TV. Yeah, you are right, Gigi. And you just never know what's going to happen. A show might really go fantastically well or not very well. And that's why I appreciate just the general support day-to-day stuff. Jose, again, another great supporter of mine. Thanks a lot, Jose. Big up. I hope you're doing well, mate. I hope you have a good evening. And that's what I try and do Better Krypton. Like, it is tough because I've got other commitments. I've got uni commitments. I've got, other things on the side, other jobs that I do. So I do uni. I also sort of run my own little small business as well. And I'm hoping to sort of obviously build this channel, build my Twitter following. I do a lot of writing on Twitter. It's tough, but I think 3 shows a week is sort of where I want to be at. Like every other day is where I want to be at, really. So I'm also hoping, as I said at the start of the show, I want to bring more people onto this channel. So I'm hoping to grow this channel a little bit more in the next month or so. And then I'm going to try and get some guests on the channel. I want this channel to be sort of an analytical channel. I don't want this channel to be a channel that is, I want to be different from other content sort of creators. That's what I'm saying. I want to be more sort of analytical, read between the lines a bit more. That's the sort of content I want to be. Obviously, I want to bring a bit more entertainment to the party as well, but I want to be analytical as well. So, that's how I want to roll, really. Yeah, I am hoping to do more shows with other people as well. I've been on Rich Sports, so make sure you go and subscribe to Rich Sports on YouTube. I've also been on Trafford Tunnel, which is a very good, was it Never a Foul? I can't remember. I think it was Trafford Tunnel I've been on, but make sure you check out that as well. Statman Baines as well. I'm hoping to do some things with him. I'm hoping to bring more big guests on the channel as well, guys. But as always, guys, as I said, as big as this channel gets, I will always appreciate everyone who supported me from the start. I think it's been a real big thing for me. I've got no experience of sort of YouTube, or I had no experience of anything to do with analysis of football before I started Twitter. So, I've now got my football coaching qualification, my level 1 qualification, looking to go into football coaching in my own time as well. So I'm also developing my knowledge every day. And so I'm not the finished product. This channel isn't the finished product. I want to develop an intro, a nice catchy intro as well, develop the visuals a bit better, get my own microphone, sort all that stuff out. So we will get to that stage, guys. It's just at the moment I haven't got everything I want at the moment, but we are building, guys. We are building. Yes, with Ty, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Martial FC. Martial FC. I'm not part of any. I'm Man United FC. I'm Man United FC. I won't put a player or a manager above the club ever. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot as always. Sorry for my taking it over an hour a little bit. I try and keep it to normally around an hour. Thanks a lot to everybody. Please smash a like. Please subscribe if you're new. Everyone, have a good evening. We'll be back with a Bruno player in focus analysis probably next week, maybe at the weekend, but we've obviously got some games on at the weekend, so I might do some sort of analysis of those games. Maybe we'll see how it goes. But I'll be back with a player in focus on Bruno. That'll probably happen sort of next week, if not at the end of this week. I will let you guys know. Make sure you go and follow me on Twitter as well at ThreadmanChazza. Take care, everyone. Take care, Jose, GG, Bat of Krypton, Alien Tenno, Deepesh, Red Dead United TV. Anyone else I've forgotten here? I think that is more or less it. I think there might have been another person at the start, but I think the majority of people I've covered there. Yep, I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. So thanks to you all for coming along. Have a good evening. I will try and get that in, Jose. I'll try and bring some post-match reactions in as well. I'll try and do some more YouTube shorter videos as well, things to have a look at. I might also develop some stuff on TikTok as well. I have got an account. You can follow me on ThreadmanChazza at TikTok as well if you like. I haven't really uploaded much on there yet, but I might look into that in the future. We're going to develop every day. We're going to grow. But as always, I won't forget you guys, the early guys that have supported me. If I ever do develop, hopefully develop the channel. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming along, as always. See you guys later. Have a good evening. Take care. Cheers.